Good day. This is the Elliott Wave Weekly Update for the NASDAQ 100, being recorded on Saturday, November the 9th, 2024. Well, the election came, the election went. There was great jubilation on one side and really very disappointment on the other. And the markets, by the way, though, started to react pretty much on Tuesday during the election, and then started to pick up a lot of steam during the Globex session as the returns started and continued to come in. Now, that jubilation may be partly due to the election itself, the results of the elections itself. The second one that I really think is more of what actually took hold was the seasonality. That all along during our decline, and even with the possibilities of what the market may do as a result of the elections, continued to show that we should see a November to be very powerful to the upside. And once November and that election kind of kicked in, that became very apparent. And the market just absolutely took off. And I mean took off. Those of you that are listening, you were there. You know, you get it. And it pretty much was across the board. We saw some strong gains in Bitcoin. We saw strong gains in individual stocks, so the stock indexes. We saw the bond market continue to decline until Thursday when the Fed cut the rate. Then the bonds started to react a little bit more positively to the fact that interest rates were just cut 25 basis points, or at least the Fed funds rate was cut an additional 25 basis points. Yet to be seen if that's going to roll down the interest rate product list, and more to the point as to whether mortgage rates are going to start to come down. That's going to be the stall in a lot of what the market wants to see in terms of easier money, and that would be within mortgages. And at least in many states, particularly in the one I live in, California, they haven't really started to come down. And now interest rates have been cut 75 basis points, and they're still not really starting to come down. So that's the last holdout, and everyone's waiting for that. And we're actually still, as of Saturday, the 9th, waiting for final results to come in several of the Senate seats and several of the House seats, the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House of Representatives. So those they're hanging out and they're waiting, and it's looking more favorable for a clean sweep by the Republicans here in the United States. And that would be for the House of Representatives, the U.S. Senate, and also the executive branch, which is the president. So yet to be determined. What actually will come out of that is also yet to be determined. There are many factors that would not sit tight with the market, I believe, should the incoming administration actually start to employ what they promised they would employ upon taking office. Yet to be seen. But right now, let's focus on the here and now. And we continue, or I continue, to look for this rally to, again, continue to move the market higher, at least on the equity side. Now, where we are, I'm just going to start here on the 3-year weekly chart. And again, that larger picture remains the same. So just very quickly, we are in a primary fifth wave that began in October of 2022. That's where primary 4 is. We're in that primary fifth wave. There's going to be 5 waves of intermediate degree, of which 1 and 2 are complete. We're looking for the finishing point for intermediate wave 3. So intermediate wave 3 is going to consist of 5 waves of minor degree, of which we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 down, and we're inside of minor wave 5, which is going to have 5 waves of minute degree, of which we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 done. So we're in minute wave 5 of minor wave 5 to complete intermediate wave 3. So we are close. So I try to hone in a little bit as to what resistance levels may put that completion point in, and we'll see. So now we're going to start to drill down. And I'm going to go from the weekly, and I'm going to go straight down to the daily, because this is where we are. We're inside. We're not going to rehash anything that's already happened because it's there and it's still labeled as such. So I'm going to be looking at minor wave 5. And in particular, we're going to be looking at minute wave 5 inside of minor wave 5. So here you can see how I've labeled it, and I've taken off a lot of the internals where I had put all that labeling in just to make it very clear as to what we have. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And wave 4, again, had completed just prior. So wave 4 was done on the 31st of October. So 5 days later, we start to rally up and out. So up until that point, we had left open the potential that this C wave within this minute wave 4 may have still had more to go. So obviously, it did not. And so that level marked the completion point. And then we had a 1, 2, and now we're in that third. Now, how high can that third go? It may still have some additional upside before we start to get that little bit larger of a pullback and larger within the minuet degree. So minute wave 5 is going to consist of 5 waves of minuet degree. I'm going to come right down to the 1 hour chart. So here's the 4. And I know I have to keep moving it over, so I'm not going to do it again, but there's the 4, comes in right there. And we have 1, 2, and then we start to subdivide. So if I go 1, 2, then 1, 2, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 3, 4, 5 of 3, maybe not done. But if it is, then we still have maybe a little bit more to go. So if I do the inside 3, and then that's a 4, and then 1, 2, and I think we still have some movement up. Now, what can I put in here? And these are basically, and this is, you're going to hear me use this word correctly, guesstimates. Not an estimate, it's a guesstimate of, because where is wave 4? Now I'm saying 1, 2, and this is going to be the 3s up to here, and then we got a 4 maybe to here, and now we're starting to go back up on that minuet 5th wave to complete the minute 5th wave, etc., all the way up that line. Minute 5, minor 5, intermediate wave 3. So what are our resistance zones? Well, we've kind of going to measure wave 5, and we put it together with wave 1. Right? That's the fib relationship. Wave 5 is compared to wave 1. And the most common is equality. And equality comes in at 21,332. Now, before that, we have the 618, which is not the first most popular. It's not even the second. It's the third most popular. But what we're going to be looking for, if it gets only to 21,225, let's call it, we'll round it up a little bit, then this is going to be very small. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's it. And as long as I can count out 5 and they're clean, then I would say, but what's going to be our clue? That 21,224 or 225, if it gets hit, is that finishing point. There will be a slight rejection there, and we'll see it drop. And it should take the market back below 21,000 pretty quickly. That would be my first clue that, okay, we're all done all the way up to that intermediate wave 3. Now, outside of that, I am going to look for it to go past that, actually. I think this rally's been strong enough that we should get that follow through. Now, again, we had a pretty strong expiration on Friday. And so a lot of things come off. A lot of gamma's been released. A lot of delta's gone off. And that kind of releases some of the volatility. And so when volatility takes a pop, the market should run. That's kind of the thing. Volatility kind of gets all back in a line there. And the market usually has a little bit of an upside move. So what we got going on is that I would think a minimum 21,332. And we're close enough to this 1.882 level for the minor 5th wave. That comes in up above here, 21,595, I'll call it. And you can open that window and say 580 let's see, 21,580 to 21,595 to almost 21,600. That would be for the minor wave 3. We're looking for the minute wave 5. Where can that one start to come in? And I somehow lost that. Hold on just a second while I go back out and I go here. That one's going to come in a little bit higher. And so, yeah, I don't need to do that. I can just go like this, and I'm going to put it back over to here. Now, I know it's a little bit backwards, but now I got to open this up and get rid of that. And this all turns into this color so we can take a look at it. And I'm not going to be looking for that 2.618, at least not right now. So here we have it. So here we have the minute wave 5 are there. There's the 618, there's the 100%. And we have the 1.618 way up here. Okay, so now we're looking. And then this one, we have a little bit inside, a little tiny inside that could give us the balances. Right? So those are here and then here. So we've got a super strong cluster. There's the 618 for the minute. And here we have this one lining up just above it. And then we have this one just above that. So what can we say? 21,420 or 415 up to 21,595. That's the window of opportunity. And if it continues, then we got 21,790, 22,092, which is the larger number for that intermediate third. So we've got quite the window of opportunity to complete this intermediate third wave. And in between, we'll be completing a minute 5 and then a minor 5 and then the intermediate 3. And that sets the stage for an intermediate fourth wave correction. And again, resting on Elliott on this one, that a fourth wave will find its terminus, its endpoint within the price territory of the fourth wave of one lesser degree. Intermediate, one lesser is minor. So I am looking. Now, I've got some people want to dispute that, but that's fine. You're more than welcome to. That should bring us back into this area and likely towards the low. So, and it's going to come, I think, as a kind of a shock. Do we have still enough things out there to produce that shock? We sure do. We sure do. And they're geopolitical, basically. We've got the turning in the rhetoric starting to come out from the new administration that's going to be coming in January. But a lot can happen between now and January. And we still have a current administration, and they still are in power, and they still can act. So what to be done? I don't know. But there are things out there. And there's still a lot of other things even that affect the president-elect coming up as well that aren't necessarily on the federal level, where he does seem to have that aura of protection. And so just a lot of things yet to really kind of shake the roof, shake the boat, tip it over, all kinds of things. So, but right now, I'm not suspecting that any of that's actually come into play. So what really can just determine and send the market from reaching a high to starting to pull back and do it a little bit quicker and a little bit harder. You remember, as we got into this minor 4, it was the C wave of minor 4 that just really got knocked to the curb. And it took 3 days to go from 19,539 to 17,435. It took 3 days. That's all. That's a lot of movement. So we're talking like over 1,000 points. It just dropped. In fact, that one day, the last day, was 1,000 points in Globex. So in the NASDAQ. So here we are. Can it happen? Yes. Could it be fast? Yes. And it might just start to tumble initially, maybe a little rally, tumble, rally, but then I think something happens that goes wham. And it could be just quick enough that it takes care of everything, turns the market, and we then start to head back up. But I'm talking about that we need to come all the way back down. Because what am I looking for after that? And once intermediate wave 4 is done, I'm looking for an intermediate wave 5. Now, that could be turned back into new administration is sworn in, everybody's all happy, everybody's back on board, and whoosh, we start to go on the on whatever's going to be happening there. Now, that whole trip can go either way. My suspicion is that the market's going to be okay with everything that's going on because I'm looking for an intermediate fifth wave up. Now, that intermediate fifth wave is going to be completing not only itself, and there will be, again, we're going to be looking for 5 waves of minor degree within that intermediate wave 5. But once intermediate wave 5 is complete, then it will also complete the primary fifth wave. Again, that's the one that started all the way back in October of 2022. So we're out into 2025 now. So it's going to be October that it'll make it, the division will be 3 years. But this whole primary fifth wave, 2.5 years, maybe 2.25 years, maybe. We got to wait and see. But I am looking for all of this to go and to finish. Now, once primary wave 5 is done, I'm going to stick on top of that in cycle wave 3. And those of you that have followed me long enough, you know that back in January of 2022, I had felt that that could have been the completion point for primary wave 5 and cycle wave 3. And then we were starting on a cycle degree ABC down for cycle 4. So really all we're completing is a series of 3s and 4, 5. Complete 3, 4, 5. And complete another 3, 4, 5. And then we just keep working our way back up until eventually we're coming down to the cycle fifth wave. And then once that's done, what it's doing on the super cycle, gonna be a trip. But that's way out there. So I'm not even going to go there. But if we're dealing with finishing up a primary fifth wave and a cycle third wave, again, timing factors it's up in the air, but I would say with how quickly this one's rolling out, I think we might get 2025, maybe 2026. But there's so many things coming in with the new administration that have been laid out, whether it was just to get votes or whether it's actually what's going to happen, yet to be seen. But if some of that stuff does get employed, then wow, it could shove this market, i.e. the tariffs. The tariffs. You want to go into a trade war with China again? Good, because the last time that was attempted, the market rejected that idea and rejected it in a big way. In this case, it would be in a very big way because it would come in the form of a cycle fourth wave. So I think we were all good up until we're finished and we can run all the way up in that intermediate wave 5 to complete primary wave 5 to complete cycle wave 3. It's going to be the damage in cycle wave 4 that can be attributed to something out of the new administration. So again, I don't know what that's going to be. I can get some hints, but we have no idea if it actually will be imposed. The tariffs of that nature would be imposed against the U.S. competitors, so to speak. But we'll see. Or anything else that may fall into place that could really rattle the markets. And there's enough out there, geopolitically and now internally. So dealing with next week, I think that we might be well on our way to finishing this intermediate third wave and beginning then that intermediate fourth wave decline. We'll see, because we have so many different levels here once we start getting up here. I mean, we literally, these all fit still for the intermediate degree third. That's pretty high, but it's there, and it could be the ticket. I have one other one that I can put up in there, and I'm going to use it right here. And I'm going to put 7618. I know those are big, but it's primarily because that's not going to work. It's primarily because of, well, what the hell's going on? 7 point, wow. That's why I kept beeping at me, because I was not had my numbers on. So let's see where that one comes in. Oh God, why is it doing that? Nothing's coming out right, is it? 7.618. Let's try that. That's what I want. There it is right there. So we have, as I've been talking about, I definitely think above 21,000, we're already there, but I think above closer to 22,000 is going to be the ticket that's going to finish minor 5 and intermediate wave 3. But then above that, if we continue to have a really solid rally, and that is not over yet, then we have 23,000, 23,244, 23,745, 23,008, 23, and all the way up to 24,115, and then that's 7.882 at 24,205. So we have these numbers all the way up. If this rally really just gets going and not going to stop. Now, we saw last week, right? We're at 21,000, 21,117. If they put 400 points, we're 21,500. And if they put another 400 points, you can see how quickly we go up. We went up very, very strongly. That rally started last week at 19,898. That was the low. And 21,155 was the high. That's last week. Pretty dynamic. All right, let's go over and take a look at the NASDAQ futures market. Here again, same story. We have that same 4. That was done October of 2022. We're looking for the completion point of intermediate wave 3. I have first target, 21,665. So that's pretty close. And that's 5.882. Then it breaks, and our next one is 23,090. So you can see that we jump pretty quick because the numbers move, and we have to move in those sequences, at least on the intermediate degree, and also on the others as well. Now, how did we do during the week? Well, we did 1, 2, 3, 4. I've cleaned it up. I still think I'm using the different. If I had to, I can move that to here and here and put the 3 there, and still it's going to work. And even with that slight coming down, let me bring this down and put it right on the daily. And let's take a look inside. See that 4 overlaps that wave 1, which is why I'm keeping it down here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And this 4 just overlaps the way, inside of wave 3. And because of the way that this all happened, this is the cleanest count that I can come up with. That this overlap was within wave 3, so it doesn't really affect it, and that doesn't overlap here. So I'm leaving that as is. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. A little bit of an irregular. We came down. We missed the 1.618, but we did put in the additional new low, and therefore I'm considering it complete with an ABC, putting the minute wave 4 here, and off to the races we went. Now, bringing it down to the hourly chart, we got to get inside. Remember, I was talking about last Thursday going into Friday. It's very difficult to try to tag where all of these things, where does 1 end and 2 end, and then the 3 and then the 4. And so the best I could come up with is coming in here and saying, here is wave 1, here is wave 2, here is wave 1, and here is wave 2. And that's counting all of these little blurbs up in here. Wave 1 of 5 here, wave 2 here. And so here to here for wave 4. So I'm considering that the pullback that we had last Friday or yesterday really that low marked the fourth wave inside of what I think is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so we're just finishing very possibly wave 3. Unless I can do it from here. 1, 2, doesn't really work. It's not that clean. Yeah, which is why I kind of had to come up with what I did. So I had to go 1, 2, and then 1 of 3. 1 of 3, 2 of 3. Yes, it doesn't fit. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3, 4 of 3. Nope. Yeah, this is how I'm working this out to kind of put that up there, that this is 1 of 3 going up. So this could be 1, 2, and that's 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3, 4 of, or 3 of 3, 4 of 3, and we're in 5 of 3, and that projects to 21,347. Then we get a 4. This is 4 of 3, 5 of 3. That's completing minuet 3, and then we get a minuet fourth wave down, which also can match up with that cash market. And from there, fourth wave down, probably we come back to 21,040, 140. So wherever we end up here, then we come back down maybe 100, 200 points, and then we rally again. So I still am kind of holding out that what we have here is 1.618, 21,974. Now that's above here, and that's above the minor. So it just depends on the structure. So we're very close attention. The futures markets have been just totally wacky in terms of like, wow, what's it doing? But actually, this would have to be marked not in that color, but in this color, because these are subs. These are not minuet. These are subs, I think, pretty sure. And what we're finishing is minuet wave 3. So those have 21,347, 21,486. We complete that. We come back down in a 4, go back up in a 5, and then we're completing. That would be minuet wave 5, of minute wave 5, of minor 5, of intermediate 3. And maybe that's all we do is get there. If we get up to here, come back down and come back up, 21,665 to 21,720. That starts to be the ticket, and this would be 5 waves. So this, while there is a marker, does not necessarily need to be hit. So my thoughts are now going to be wrapping itself around here to finish all the way up to that intermediate 3. And then we start that next leg down. And I believe we're close. And I'm actually thinking pretty much it's going to come before NVIDIA. As strange as all that sounds. So who knows what's going to happen, right? We got too many things going on, but that's kind of my take for the NASDAQ. Let me take it back out to the daily chart and let's take a peek at those moving averages, which, by the way, just kind of did the old reverse and just kind of, oh, okay, we were going to go down. Nope, we're not. So you can see even the 200 started to give a little bit of a tick up. And then here we have this guy. This guy being that the 50 turned, the 20 turned, and of course the 8. So they are in alignment to continue. All right. The next daily Elliott Wave daily update will be on Monday, November the 11th. Markets are open, equity. The bond markets are closed.